Hello there. Let us continue solving questions on iteration statements. And currently, we are on the nested loop patterns category. Now, this category has got a few subcategories. And out of these subcategories, we have solved questions from some of them already. In this video, we will get started with the symmetry subcategory, where we have got these 11 questions. Now, what I'll do is I'll not pick up all of these questions in one single video, because if I do, the length of the video will be very long. What I'll instead do is I will split these 11 questions in maybe 2 or 3 different videos and solve these 11 questions in those 2 or 3 videos. For this video, I am going to pick up the first 4 questions. So let's get started with the first question here, which is this. Now take a look at this pattern and tell me, how can we solve this? Well, while you are taking a look at the pattern and while you are guessing a possible solution to this, let me quickly draw this. So for n equal to 5, this is what we're supposed to print. Now, assuming you gave it a thought as to how to solve this question, let's continue. So this pattern that we're trying to print can be solved using 2 patterns that we had discussed earlier. If that does not ring a bell, let me show you those 2 patterns. Take a look at this pattern, the first one that we took up when we started with the left aligned right angle triangle subcategory, which is now completed. So take a look at this, and to make it easier for you, let me copy this and let me paste it here. The other pattern that I want to show you is this one, which is the first one that we took up when we started with the left aligned inverted right angle triangle, which is also completed, by the way. And if I copy this and I paste it here, or better yet, if I move this here and these two over here. Now take a look at the highlighted ones and also take a look at the pattern which we are trying to solve. Now, can we take these two, combine this in some way and reach this? Well, let's see if we can or not. And for that, let me come back over here and draw those 2 patterns as well. So this is one of the patterns that I had shown just now, and this is the other one. Now, if you take a look at what we have, which is combining these 2 patterns and what we actually want, you would see some differences. The first difference that you would see is in what we have by combining the 2 existing patterns that we have discussed, there's a space between them. And to show it more clearly to you, let me come back over here. And as you can see, there's a space between the 2 asterisks that I am showing right now. The same thing holds for all of the pair of asterisks that we have, right? And there's spaces between asterisks in this pattern also, correct? But if we take a look at the pattern that we are trying to print, there's no space between them. So this is one difference that we will have to take care of, which can be taken care of easily. We will get to that. The other difference, and for that, let me come back over here. So the other difference is in the pattern that we are trying to print, we have got only one row with 5 asterisks. But in the combined pattern that we got, as in combining the 2 existing pattern that we know of, we have got 2 rows with 5 asterisks each. So this is another thing that we will have to take care of. Now let us discuss how can we take care of that. And for that, what am I going to do is draw a grid around this and draw grids around these individual patterns as well. The reason I'm doing so will be clear in some time. So like I was saying, we can get to this by combining these, and there are some differences that we will have to take care of, right? One difference that we talked about is the space that is there after each asterisk in these 2 patterns. And that would be very easy to handle. How? See, When we go to the code, you would see that we have printed this, as in we have printed an asterisk and a space. That is how we got this pattern and this pattern as well. Now, to remove that space, what we will have to do is we will just have to not print the space, right? So this space thing can be handled very easily. The other thing that we have to handle, like I said, is that for this pattern, actually this pattern, there's only one row with 5 asterisks, but if we just combine these two, we will end up with 2 rows with 5 asterisks, right? So if we split this pattern this way, for example, so let's say I take this. Now, what are we left with? We're left with this part, right? So the first part that we have can be directly mapped to the first pattern that is there, right? As you can see over here, we are printing only one asterisk in the first row, two in the second, three in third, four in fourth, and five in fifth. We can do the same thing here, one in first, two in second, three in third, four in the fourth, and five in the fifth. So if we run the code for this for n equal to 5, we will get this part of the pattern that we are trying to print, right? Now for the other part, let's take a look at this. So what we need is, we need 4 asterisks in the first row, then 3 in the second. As in, when I say first and second, I'm referring to only this part. It will actually be the 6th, 7th, 8th, and the ninth row. So continuing the discussion, what I need is, for this part, to print 4 asterisks in the first row, then 3 in the second, then 2, and then 1. However, what we have, which is for n equal to 5, is 5 asterisks in the first row, then 4 in the second, right? So because n is equal to 5, we have got 5 asterisks over here. But if I run this part, as in this, it is getting a little messy, but please bear with me. So if I run the code for n equal to 4, what will we get? Well, in that case, give me a second. In that case, we will start from here, right? As in, we will get 4 asterisks in the first row, then 3, then 2, and then 1, correct? So if we run the code for this for n equal to 4, we will get the next part of the pattern that we are trying to print, right? So combining everything that we have discussed so far, what we had discussed is this pattern can be printed using two patterns that we have already discussed. And those two patterns are this and this. Now, if we combine these, there are two differences in what we get versus what we need that we will have to take care of. One of those differences, a space that is coming after every asterisk that is getting printed, right? To handle it, all we will have to do is get rid of the asterisk, sorry, of the space. Simple. Then the other difference that we will have to take care of is in this pattern, that is the one that we need, we've got only one row with 5 asterisks, but if we combine these, we will end up with 2 rows with 5 asterisks. Now to handle this, like we discussed, what we will do is, we will run this for n equal to 5, but then for this one, we will run it for n equal to 4. That is just 1 less than the value of n, right? And what we will get as a result of doing this would give us this. So with all of this understood and hopefully clear, let's go to IntelliJ and let's start writing the code. So here we have SRC, then iteration statements, then questions, then nested loop patterns. And over here, the first thing that we will do is create a package, and we will name this package as Symmetry. Then we'll create a Java class, we'll call it Q1. Now, like we had discussed, what are we going to do is we're going to, one second, use the code from these two questions, right? So let's take a look at the question here. This is the first question of left aligned right angle triangle. So let's come back to IntelliJ, and over here, the left aligned right angle triangle is here. We need the first question. So this is the solution of the first question. And from here, we'll copy only the for loop. Let me close this and let's have a main method here first. Then let's initialize n to 5 and then let's paste that for loop that we had copied. Now, if I run the code, we get this, which is what we expected. These spaces are something that we have to handle, but we'll get to that in a moment. The second question that I had talked about was this, which is the first question of the left aligned inverted right angle triangle. So coming back to IntelliJ, left aligned inverted right angle triangle is here. Then we have got Q1. And this is the for loop for that question. So let's come back here and paste it. So as of now, I've just pasted the logic from two questions that we had solved earlier. So without changing anything, let's run the code to check the output. And this is what we have, which is exactly what we expected, right? So what are we going to do next is remove these spaces, first of all. So if I run the code now, as you can see, the pattern has changed. But there's one more thing that we are yet to handle, which is 2 rows with 5 asterisks each. And to handle that, all that we will have to do is change the value of n to 4, which is just 1 less than the original value of n, right? In simple terms, it is just n minus minus, correct? So if I run the code now, what do we get? Well, we get this, and this is exactly what we had expected. So this is how we can solve this question. And with this done, let's move on to the next question. And the next question is this. So for n equal to 5, this is what we are supposed to print. Now, as you might have guessed already, even this question can be solved using two questions that we had discussed earlier. And those two questions are this one, the first question from center aligned triangle. And let me copy this and paste here. And the second question is this, which is the first question of center aligned inverted triangle. By the way, both of these categories are completed. And if these questions seem interesting to you and you have not watched those videos yet, please check it out. So let me paste this over here. Now, like you can see, we can combine these two and get this. But again, it won't be that straightforward, because when we combine these two, and let me show that to you first. So if we combine these two, what we get is similar to what we want, but there's one difference, which is we've got 5 asterisks over here in 2 rows, but in what we actually want, we need just 1 row with 5 asterisks. So let us discuss first of all as to how to tackle this, and then we will write the code. For that, let me come back over here and let me draw those two patterns also. So like we had discussed, for n equal to 5, this is what we are supposed to print, which we can get by combining these two patterns that we had discussed earlier. Now here I've numbered just the rows, because column wise, as you can see, things are not changing anywhere, right? So now let's continue the discussion. And as you can see in the pattern that we want, which is this, we can split this in two parts. One is this, right? And the other one is this. So the first part that we have can be obtained by using this pattern, right? So all of these, by the way, are for n equal to 5. So if I run the code for this that we had discussed earlier, for n equal to 5, we will get the first part, correct? Now in the second part of the pattern that we are trying to print, what we have is the first row has got 4 asterisks, right? Then the second one has got 3, then 2, and then 1. Now, if you compare this with this, what you would notice is, this by the way is also for n equal to 5. So what you would notice is the way this asterisk has been printed, that is there's a space over here, then asterisk, then space, then asterisk, and so on, matches with row number 1 over here. Then the way these 3 asterisks over here are printed matches with row number 2. Then this matches with 3 and this matches with 4. So if I run the code for this for n equal to 4, we won't get this. The reason being, if I run the code for n equal to 4, what is going to happen is, in the first row, we are going to get 4 asterisks, right? Which is what we want. But what will happen is, it will start from this particular line. But what we want is we want to leave a space and then start printing the asterisk, correct? So running this code for n equal to 4 won't give me this. I'll also demonstrate that to you in some time. But what will give us the pattern that we want is running this code for n equal to 5, but skipping the first row. That is, for n equal to 5, instead of going from 0 to 5, what we will do is we'll go from 1 to 5, right? So with this discussed and understood, let's go to IntelliJ and then let's write the code for this. So here the first thing that I'll do is I will collapse these, create a new Java class, call it Q2, have public static void main, and then go back here to check which questions am I supposed to take a look at. So the first question is the first question of center aligned triangle. So coming back here, center aligned triangle is here. And this is the first question. And that is the for loop of the first question. So let me copy this, come back here, have n equal to 5, call it first part and paste it, right? Then what we also need is this, which is the first question of inverted triangle center align, right? So coming back to IntelliJ, we need center aligned inverted triangle Q1, and this is the for loop. And let me copy this, come back, and let's paste it. So if I run the code at this point, what's going to happen? We're going to get this, which is expected, right? Now, all that we have to do is take care of not having two rows with 5 asterisks each, correct? And like we had discussed, what we will have to do is for the second part, which is starting from here. So for the second part, if we decrease the value of n to 4, like we have discussed, it is not going to work. So let me just run the code and demonstrate that to you. And as you can see, the first part is perfectly fine. But for the second one, we have got 4 asterisks. But what we need is, we need these 4 asterisks to start from this line actually, right? From here. But it's starting from the very left, which is expected given the code that we have. So like we had discussed, what we will do is we'll keep the value of n the same. And instead of starting from 0, we're going to start from 1. And if we do that and then run the code, this is what we get. And this is, one second, exactly what we needed, right? So just recapping so that I am sure that you have understood it fully. This is the pattern that we were aiming to print. And before I do that, let me just clear this quickly. So this is the pattern that we wanted to print, right? And like we had discussed, we can print this by using two patterns that we have discussed earlier, which is this and this. So the first part of the pattern that we want to print, which is this one, can be mapped exactly to the first pattern, right? When I say map exactly, it can be mapped row by row. So to get the first part of this pattern, all that we will have to do is print this for n equal to 5, right? Now for the second part of the pattern that we are trying to print, we can use this pattern, right? Now this pattern is for n equal to 5. But what we want is, in the second part of the pattern that we are trying to print, we want the first row, as in first row of the second part, to have 4 asterisks. So if we take this and if we run this for n equal to 4, we will not get this. Because if we run this code for n equal to 4, this is how the asterisks will be aligned. It will start from absolute left, right? But as you can see, this is not starting from absolute left. We have got a space over here. And to do that, what we will have to do instead is, we will have to run this code, but then for not n equal to 4, we'll have to do it for n equal to 5, but we will have to start from position or row 1. So if I start from row 1, as you can see, this maps exactly to row number 1, which is the second row of this pattern, right? And this maps to row number 2, which is the third row. This maps to row number 3. And this one to row number 4. So this is how we have solved this question. Now with this question solved, let us come back here and let's move on to the third question, which is this. Now this again can be solved by combining two patterns that we have discussed earlier. And let me show you those two patterns. So the first of those pattern is the fourth question of center aligned triangle, which is this one. So if I just copy this and I come over here and let me paste it here. And the second pattern is this one, which is the fourth question of center aligned inverted triangle. So if I copy this as well, come over here and paste it. And if you combine these two, what you will get will match this exactly, right? So as you can see, and to make it easier for you to visualize, let me take this part from here and paste it here. So as you can see, this pattern and this pattern matches exactly. Over here, we have got these two rows with the highest number of asterisks. And that is exactly what we are expecting here as well. So just combining these two should give us this pattern. So with this discussed, let's go to IntelliJ straight away and then let's start writing the code. So coming back here, let me collapse this, close these, collapse this as well. And let's create a new Java class, call it Q3. And here let's have a main method and we'll have some value of n, which is going to be 5, by the way. So coming back here, what we will need is we'll need the fourth question of center aligned triangle. So let's come back here, go to center aligned triangle Q4, and let's copy this and let's close this, come back here and paste. So this is going to be the first part. If I run the code now, we get first part of the pattern that we expect, right? Now for the second part, what we will have to do is we will have to take the fourth question of center aligned inverted triangle. So coming back to IntelliJ and looking for center aligned inverted triangle, which is here, and Q4 of this, let me grab this, close this, and put the second part. So if I run the code now, this is what I get. And this is exactly what we had expected. So this is how we can solve the third question. So with this done, let's move on and let's talk about this pattern. Now, this again can be solved using two patterns that we have discussed earlier. To show you which of those two patterns are, let me come over here, and this is the first and the only question of the right aligned inverted right angle triangle. So let me copy this, collapse this, come over here, and let's paste it here. Then the second question that we would need is the first and the only question of right aligned right angle triangle. So let me copy this as well, and let's come over here, paste it here. So combining these would give us this. But like you would have noticed, if we combine these, what's going to happen is we are going to end up, sorry, my bad. This should have been here. So we are going to end up with this. There's one difference that we will have to take care of, which is in the pattern that we want, we have got only one row with one asterisk. But in the pattern that we will get by combining those two patterns, we will have two rows with one asterisk each. So this is the only thing that we will have to take care of. And to discuss this, let me draw these patterns. All right, so for n equal to 5, this is what we're supposed to print, right? And like we have discussed, we can get this by combining these two patterns, and these are the ones that we have discussed earlier, right? Again, splitting this pattern into two different parts would give us this as the first part and this as the second part, right? Now, the first part, which is this, maps row by row to this pattern, right? So as we can see, 5 asterisks in the first row, then 4 in the second, then 3, then 2, and then finally 1. But for this second part that we have got 2 asterisks in the first row Again, when I say first row, it means first row of the second part. So this one would map to the second row of this particular pattern. And it goes without saying that all of this is for n equal to 5, right? So like I was saying, the first row of the second part of the pattern that we are trying to print maps directly to the second row of this pattern, right? Then the second row maps to the third row here, then third to fourth and fourth to fifth. So what we will have to do here as well is print this pattern as it is for n equal to 5. Then we will go for this pattern as it is for n equal to 5, but we will start from 1, right? Because what we want is we want to remove this. That is why. The other option could be to print this pattern as it is, but then go till row number 4 only. So what will that do is that will omit this asterisk that is to be printed. And for the second part, we can print this entirely. Either way, what we want to do is we want to avoid one of these asterisks, not both, just one of this. So either this or this, correct? So with this discussed and understood, let us go to IntelliJ, and let me first of all create a new Java class. Let's call it Q4. And here I'll have a main method. Then I'll have a variable called n. I'll initialize to 5. Now we need the only question in right aligned inverted right angle triangle. So let's come back here. Right aligned inverted right angle triangle is here. So we will grab the code from this, close this, then we will paste it here. Then what we also need is the only question in right aligned right angle triangle. So coming back to IntelliJ, right aligned right angle triangle is this, Q1 is this. So we'll grab the for loop, close this, and paste the second part here. So if I run the code at this point, this is what we get, and this is expected, right? We expect 2 rows to have 1 asterisk each. So like we had discussed, what can we do to solve this is, there are 2 ways. So one way is we go for this code, but then instead of going till n minus 1, what we can do is go till n minus 2. So I less than n minus 1. So if I run the code now, see, this is what we get. And this is exactly, one second, what we had expected, correct? So let me do one thing. Let me keep this as solution 1. So let me quickly make the required changes and then continue the discussion. All right, so this will be the solution 1, where what we are doing is we are going from 0 to 3 when n equal to 5. And the second part would remain the same. There's no changes over here. So running this code would give us this, which is what we expected. Now, the second solution could be that the first part, the code for the first part remains unchanged. And over here, instead of starting from 0, we start from 1. So if I run Q4 solution 2, we get this, which is the same as what we got over here. And these two are the same as what we expected, right? So this is how you can solve the fourth question from the list. And for these questions as well, where we modified the existing code that we had talked about earlier to get to the solution, there can be more than one way in which you can do so. So that is all for this video. For this video, we wanted to solve these 4 questions and we have solved them successfully. So that is all for this video. In the next one, we will continue with a few more of these questions. So I hope I've been able to teach you something new and useful. And if you have any suggestions, feedback or queries, feel free to put them in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one with a continuation of this video.